Unknown to many, the nation of Kenya contains more than a dozen active volcanoes. The most recent eruption from one of these volcanoes occurred from the Barrier Volcano in 1921. However, within the country is a far more impressive volcano which contains a massive 1,800-meter wide and 155-meter deep crater formed by one of its recent eruptions. This crater marks the summit of the volcano I'm referring to, called Longonot. Longonot last erupted in 1863 and will certainly erupt again. This video will discuss this volcano and mention what its future hazards are. The Longonot stratovolcano is located in southwest Kenya, where it is 60 kilometers northwest of the nation's capital, Nairobi. As we zoom in on this volcano, we can see a number of distinguishing features. These prominent features include 2 recent lava flows, a summit crater, and several recent cinder cones, which all indicate a history of highly explosive eruptions. In eastern Africa, there are 3 areas of the crust which are slowly spreading apart, allowing magma to travel up through these cracks and erupt onto the surface. One of these areas stretches through southwest Ethiopia, through central Kenya, all the way to northeast Tanzania. There, the crust is spreading to the east and west, which over time has caused the creation of more than a dozen distinct volcanoes in the country. The Longonot volcano began forming 400,000 years ago when magma from this rift zone traveled up through the crust and erupted onto the surface. This magma erupted in an explosive manner as it had a high viscosity. As a result, numerous thick layers of a gray rock type called trachyte piled on top of one another, thus forming a tall stratovolcano. By 25,000 years ago, this stratovolcano may have reached a height of 3,000 meters. Eventually, the eruptions at Longonot stopped as pressure began to build in its underlying magma chamber. For some time, this chamber continued to expand in size. Then, 21,000 years ago, this pressure was released in a catastrophic eruption. As the top of the volcano exploded, pyroclastic flows raced across the surrounding landscape, traveling more than 40 kilometers in some directions. Concurrently, large volumes of ash were ejected high into the atmosphere, causing the overall magma chamber to drain. Then, much like a sinkhole, the overlying volcano collapsed downwards to fill the empty space in the underlying magma chamber. This collapse created a massive 12 by 8 kilometer wide caldera in an eruption which ejected more than 100 cubic kilometers of material. Today, the remnants of this caldera rim are quite prominent as they form more than 100-meter tall cliffs in several locations surrounding the overall volcano. Over the next several thousand years, numerous eruptions rebuilt a large section of the volcano. However, 11,000 years ago, a second large eruption occurred. This eruption created another smaller caldera which can be seen to the southwest of the current summit. Since then, eruptions mostly filled in the areas emptied of volcanic rock by 2 major caldera collapses. A series of these eruptions create a chain of northward trending cinder cones on the northern slope of the mountain and a chain of tuff rings on the southern slope. Then, in 1500 BC, another major eruption occurred. At the time, Longonot contained a small summit crater, perhaps 200 meters wide, which was filled with a crater lake. As magma pushed upwards towards the surface, it caused this water to flash to steam, eventually generating a large explosion. This explosion created a vast 1,800-meter wide crater which has since been filled by lava, giving it a relatively flat appearance. The most recent eruption from Longonot occurred in 1863 from the aforementioned chain of volcanic cones and tuff rings. There, 2 lava flows erupted, one to the north and one to the south. From these vents emerged a significant volume of lava which set the surrounding landscape on fire and traveled approximately 3,600 meters. Since then, no additional eruptions have occurred. However, we know that Longonot is still active due to the presence of fumaroles in its summit crater and the detection of a still active magma chamber beneath its summit. I want to note that much of Longonot's eruptive history in the last 10,000 years remains a mystery, so we are not truly sure how often this volcano erupts. Given the current limited evidence, if we were to use the U.S. Geological Survey method of rating volcanoes, Longonot will be classified as a very high-threat volcano. When this volcano erupts again, it will either produce a relatively peaceful lava flow like it did in 1863, or a series of violent explosions. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to request a specific topic, please leave a comment below. Additionally, if you wish to support this channel, consider becoming a patron on Patreon.